Oh, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Wrestling Vengeance Lowdown. I am your host, the SOAOutlaw, a.k.a. Cody, and I'm being joined by Lucas The Menace, a.k.a. Lucas. How you doing, brah?
I'm doing good, chilling on a Thursday. It's hot, not hot, it's warm as fuck in New York. It's getting pretty good now. It's March, and around this time of year, shit gets good over here. But, let's talk some wrestling! Nah, I'm kidding. Yeah, let's basically talk some wrestling. Sorry, I just had to, I got too excited there.
Yeah, I got a little overexcited there, folks, but, we're here to talk some wrestling as we normally do here on Wrestling Vengeance Lowdown, and we're going to discuss WWE Monday Night Raw, and we're basically going to talk about what we liked from the show, and I'm going to give Lucas the floor here to talk about what he thought of Raw and what his expectations are going forward.
All right, well, the show started off with Shawn Michaels coming out, basically calling out Triple H to explain himself and saying that he accepted Taker's challenge, but only because Undertaker said that Triple H couldn't do what Shawn Michaels couldn't do, and that was to end the streak. So that basically got Triple H to accept, and Shawn Michaels wanted to know why that was the only reason for Triple H to accept Undertaker's match or Undertaker's challenge for WrestleMania 28. And then Hunter comes out. He explains himself. He says that he no longer wants anyone to bully or make fun of Shawn for doing something he couldn't get done. He wanted to he wanted to protect his buddy. Basically, he was making Shawn Michaels look like a bitch and a complete failure. But at the same time, he was also sticking up for him as a friend. And only Triple H could do something like that, be an ass and be friendly at the same time. And then after that, Shawn Michaels obviously made the announcement that he will be the special guest referee, and he will know who will win this year at WrestleMania, as he will be right there calling the action. He will be there officiating the action inside the Hell in a Cell. So, but yeah, I don't know. For me, that wasn't a good way to start the show. Don't get me wrong, I love Triple H and I love Shawn Michaels, two icons, two legends. But to me, it came off as a waste of time. They didn't need an entire segment for this. If it was something more important that we weren't expecting, then I can understand that. But Shawn Michaels could have simply, tweeted something, or WWE.com could have put an article saying that Shawn Michaels would be special guest referee, or hell, just do a video package or something like that. You didn't need a full, 13-minute segment involving Shawn Michaels and Triple H. If that was the only importance out of it, that he will be the special guest referee, I mean, I don't understand why they had to carry on with the segment so long. And Shawn Michaels, as good of a fan as I am for him, it seems like he's not that mic worker he once was. And of course, he hasn't been a WWE superstar for about 2 years now, as he has retired and all of that. So he's not used to the week-to-week basis in talking on a microphone or anything. But it seems like every time he's on a microphone these days, he just doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't have what's the word? He doesn't have that excitement in him anymore, or that passion, or that charisma, fuck it. You got my point. That emotion that he used to have when he would go out there and cut promos. Hell, this was the same guy who was perfect at hyping his WrestleMania matches. People called him the Drama King because every time WrestleMania was right around the corner, Shawn Michaels would be the guy to have that dramatic storyline heading into WrestleMania. Hell, he had it at WrestleMania 25. He had it at WrestleMania 26. He had it at WrestleMania 21 with Kurt Angle. I mean, it seems like every WrestleMania build-up involving Shawn Michaels has been excellent, but for some reason this time around he's not building up this Undertaker and Triple H match the way he should be. And don't get me wrong, he shouldn't be building anything at all because this match has to do with Triple H and Undertaker. It doesn't have to do with Shawn. But if you're going to be a part of the storyline, at least be somewhat entertaining and make shit interesting. I mean, Shawn Michaels, for God's sakes, he just sounded like... it sounded like he was just moaning and sounding monotone for 10 minutes, and then Triple H, my God, he's all serious, emotionless. That just makes the entire segment boring for me, and it throws me off. And speaking of this, where's the Undertaker? I know they said he's going to be on Raw next week, but they better get him in for the next few Raws that they have left for for the remaining weeks of WrestleMania, heading into WrestleMania. But yeah, what did you think of the opening segment?
I covered Raw on my YouTube vlog channel this week. I did a little hits and misses edition of WVLowdown. I just gave my hits of the show, my misses, and this segment for me was a hit. I thought the dynamic in Triple H saying, that Shawn Michaels, he's tired of everyone saying he's a failure and how he failed to beat The Undertaker and basically how Shawn Michaels retired as a loser. And I thought that was interesting because it makes Triple H out to be the heel in this storyline. That's what Triple H is coming off as, is the heel here. So I think that it was that's what made it segment for me was Triple H's actions and what he said to Shawn in that particular moment.
I mean, the thing for me is, it seems like Shawn Michaels will still be cutting promos for the next few weeks, and he will be involved in more segments for the big matchup at WrestleMania. And, what do I expect heading forward with this storyline? Well, I expect for Shawn Michaels and Triple H to keep confronting each other, but it's also going to be a thing where by the time we get to the go-home show of Raw heading into WrestleMania, I think by that point, Shawn Michaels and Triple H will be on the same page. They're probably going to reach an agreement by that final Raw before WrestleMania, and it's going to make things interesting. I think that's what this storyline is leaning towards right now. Shawn Michaels and Triple H are currently not, they're not in good shape of being friends. They're not nowhere near getting along at the moment, but I think that will change heading into the upcoming weeks. I think they're going to play mind games with each other. Then by the time they reach Monday night, the final night before, or the final Raw before WrestleMania, I think the mind games will be played with The Undertaker now, and hell, maybe Shawn Michaels will get into Undertaker's head or something like that. And I tweeted this as soon as I saw the segment and the announcement that Shawn Michaels would be the referee. I tweeted right away. I said, Click Buddies will screw Undertaker. And I mean, it might not happen, and you don't have to bash me for this. That was just a guess, that was just an assumption, a prediction. I mean, don't jump me for it. It's not like I'm saying it as a fact. It's not an insult to Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Basically, I just tweeted that because they were Click Buddies, and seeing as how this is Shawn Michaels and Triple H, it would make sense for them as buddies, the degenerates, to do something and create a twist at WrestleMania. And as you pointed out earlier, Triple H is coming off as a heel, so we could see something like that happen at WrestleMania, I mean, anything can happen. So I think going forward, that's what's going to happen. HBK and Triple H are going to get into it a few times on the microphone, how they might even beat each other up or something, or get too personal where they start insulting each other. But then by the time the final Raw comes, they might get on the same page, and Shawn Michaels will be like, listen, I'm not going to be biased with anyone. I'm not going to play any favorites here or anything like that. I understand I have to judge this match right down the middle, but at the same time, he's probably going to play mind games,
Right, and I think the finish of WrestleMania, in my opinion, and this is what's currently going through my head. and I was thinking about this today actually. When Shawn Michaels is the referee of that match, here's what I see happening. You know, Undertaker, you know, he's beating up Triple H to the point where he thinks he's about ready to finish him. So as the Undertaker's going for the tombstone, Shawn Michaels super kicks the Undertaker's head off. And then Triple H is like, oh, Shawn, you have a change of heart. Let's end this streak together. Let's do it. And then Triple H, you know, he prepares to pedigree the Undertaker. And then, bam, Shawn Michaels does a 180 and super kicks Triple H.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's why I think it might happen. You know, that's the finish that's currently playing through my head. But, you know, it's hard to say what's going to happen. You know, Shawn could screw over either guy, or he'll call it down the middle, or something's going to happen. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens between these three from now until the go-home show to WrestleMania.
Right. And another thing is, I mean, WWE tends to do this constantly. Whenever they have a referee officiating a WrestleMania match, they don't ever screw over the opponent. You know, they kind of always call it down the middle. But, you know, I think it's a way to get you excited and pumped up to actually want to watch the pay-per-view and order it. And so they make you think something might happen, something fishy might happen. But at the end of the day, it's just a letdown, and they only have that referee there as a plus to get you invested in this match. But in my opinion, Undertaker and Triple H inside Hell in a Cell was enough for me. I don't think you needed Shawn Michaels in order to get me invested in this match, you know. But for some reason they threw him in there, and you gotta wonder if they're gonna be in Hell in a Cell. Why the hell did WWE not just let it be them two inside Hell in a Cell? Why did they throw in Shawn Michaels? So that's where the factor of Shawn Michaels screwing someone over comes into play, because you really don't need Shawn Michaels there to get you hyped for WrestleMania. I mean, the match speaks volumes for itself already, especially inside Hell in a Cell. So maybe WWE does actually plan to do something, but here's another question, and the most important question. If Shawn Michaels does get involved and he somewhat is involved with the finish and the way the match ends, you gotta wonder, he's gonna be around for longer than after WrestleMania. You know, it's not just gonna be the road to WrestleMania, he's gonna be around after that. And Shawn Michaels is a retired performer. So, I mean, in order for him to do something like this, he's gotta be around for the months after that, if this is gonna be a work or a program or whatever, because you can't just have Shawn Michaels disappear after that. You know, so it's interesting where they're going with this.
It is, and I think that they're bringing Shawn Michaels in for that purpose, to be involved in the finish of the match, whether it's to cost Triple H the match or whether it's to cost The Undertaker the match. But I think if with the Shawn Michaels element in the match, I think it makes the outcome kind of obvious, you know, because with the animosity between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, you can kind of guess that Shawn's going to swing towards costing Hunter the match instead of Undertaker, you know?
Yeah. All right. So what else came off good from Raw? I mean, hell, I forgot. I know they had the Rock history lessons, which is good. Let's see here. I mean, yeah, let's talk about the Rock's history lessons. I thought all of them were actually great and entertaining, despite the last one being a bit, you know, just But the first two were fucking amazing, funny as hell. I mean, the first one with Cena's merchandise being thrown in the Boston Harbor, that shit had me rolling. And then the Rock's lines, like, where in the fourth dimension of hell did this come from? Oh, they got midget shorts. I feel bad for any midget who has to wear this shit. And then he's like, John Cena cologne. This smells like Fruity Pebbles, and possum piss. and then he's like, there was this, I don't know, a toy or something of an old man or elf or whatever the fuck it was. And he was like, oh, whoever has this must be a 35 or 45-year-old man, and he's a virgin. I mean, The Rock was on a roll. The Rock was on a roll in that first in that first skit of The Rock's history lessons. This is why I praise the man. This is why I'm a fan of The Rock. Even though I wasn't around in the Attitude Era to watch him, I still know what he's capable of because he's been around for the last year and a half, and he's shown me what he's actually all about and what The Rock character was all about in his day. So I'm glad that The Rock came back because now the new generation can see who he was before, and I thank The Rock for that because I wasn't around to see him. Well, I was around, but I was too little to fucking know what the WWE was. So now he's giving me an example of The Rock, and he's a fucking entertainer. Let me tell you that. He's a comedian, he's an actor. This guy can do it all. That's why I love him. He loves to entertain. He's the best at entertaining, and that's what he did in these segments.
Right, and he is what he says he is. He is the most electrifying man of all of entertainment. But
I mean, hell, he can get a crowd pumped up via satellite. No one can fucking do that. The Rock makes these people react to what is on screen. He's just fucking amazing. He gets them chanting things if it's via satellite. They say his catchphrases with him via satellite. I mean, the guy can do it all. And hell, this brings me back to the Survivor Series promo he did right before his match. Backstage, he was singing New York, and he cut an electrifying promo. No one can do something like that in the back right now, not even from in the ring. Whether anyone is in the ring or backstage, no one can do what The Rock can. I'm sorry. Maybe CM Punk can, but The Rock is simply the best at electrifying. He can do it from any aspect, whether it's in the ring, whether it's backstage, in the locker room area, whether it's via satellite, whether it's in his mom's pussy or whatever, but The Rock can do it.
What? What?
I'm kidding.
His mom's pussy. Oh. Now I gotta put a fucking disclaimer all around this bitch now. All right, disclaimer. Myself and the Wrestling Bitches staff do not condone what Lucas just said about The Rock electrifying the fans via his mom's pussy. Now back to the show.
Okay. Let's see what else happened on Raw.
Well, damn, I didn't get to comment on The Rock's history lesson segment.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought the segments were pretty damn entertaining. Like Lucas said, we got a taste of what The Rock brought to us in the Attitude Era, and it did bring me back to the Attitude Era with what he brought to the table this past Monday on Raw with history lesson segments. And The Rock is just classic, just straight up classic when he does stuff like this, and it just goes to show why he is one of the most charismatic performers that the wrestling business has ever seen. He can do something like that. And like Lucas pointed out, there's no one currently in the WWE that can do what The Rock can.
Right. And to follow up on this, let's talk about Santino Marella defeating Jack Swagger to become the WWE United States Champion. First of all, fuck me. Why do they have this match on Raw and not WrestleMania? They should be doing something with the U.S. title for WrestleMania. Hell, if they're not going to have Money in the Bank, they should at least have their upper mid-carders involved in some sort of match for whether it be any title, the IC title or the U.S. title, but instead they give this match away on Raw. I mean, that makes no sense. To me, Santino won the belt to further the John Laurinaitis and Teddy Long storyline. I really think that Santino winning the U.S. title had nothing to do with the fact that Santino is over or, that Jack Swagger had a shitty reign. I simply think Santino won it because come WrestleMania time, he's going to have something to do where he's going to be involved with this Teddy Long and John Laurinaitis storyline. Maybe Santino will compete against David Otunga or some shit like that to represent Teddy Long in that match, and maybe the title will be on the line on that night. But to me, Santino only won that title to further the storyline because if you remember, who was at ringside? Teddy Long, Aksana, David Otunga, John Laurinaitis, Dolph Ziggler, Vicky Guerrero. I mean, even Kofi Kingston was at ringside. So that match was only there to continue and to further interest into this storyline between John Laurinaitis and Teddy Long. I do not think that match was to be taken seriously at all, because if it were to be taken seriously, there would be no wild cards in the match. There would be no one at ringside, and it'd be a straight-up match focusing on the U.S. title, and that's not what happened. So I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Santino Marella fans out there, and I'm not gonna bash you guys, but because I made a blog about this, and I'd be a hypocrite if I bash you. I would come off as a mark for hating on you guys for liking Santino. But to me personally, my opinion, I don't like Santino. I mean, I understand his character is over, and that's good for the WWE. I can understand that. But me personally, I think he's dry. He's boring. He's not entertaining. I mean, I don't even know how the kids can like this guy. He's just, I don't know. I just don't like him.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Santino situation there. I'm not a fan of Santino. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to like him when he first came in, in 2007, and when he won the IC title in his first night on the main roster against Umaga. I liked him, starting off, and the stuff he did with Beth Phoenix was pretty funny, But now I find his act to be stale. It doesn't entertain me at all. It's the same gimmick he's had since '07. I don't find it entertaining. I mean, and like Lucas said, I don't condemn anyone for liking Santino. If you're a fan of the guy, kudos to you. Whatever floats your boat. I'm not going to judge you. But I just don't find him appealing. I don't. And him winning the U.S. title, it did nothing for me. And granted, Swagger, he had a boring reign too. He did nothing memorable as U.S. champion.
Right. And, I know Santino's a good wrestler and all of that, but that's besides the point. The fact is, Santino's gimmick has been shoved down our throats for years. How it's probably been more shoved down our throats than John Cena's gimmick for the last 8 years. And you want to know why? It's because Santino does the same exact shit. At least John Cena, he's a main event guy, and he has interesting matches and interesting storylines. But Santino, he's not involved in any programs, any main event programs. He's just a fucking... he's just a jobber, Santino, he's nothing. He's just there for the hell of it, It's like the Cobra. Can we even take that finisher seriously, the Cobra? I mean, come on now.
I sure as hell don't.
There are some things that are funny about Santino, like when he mocks his opponents, but that only lasts like 10 seconds. After that, he just pretty much tunes me off because I know every match of his is not going to last long. So That's what makes me not like him. If he were actually out there to be serious during his matches and have 10, 15-minute long matches, I'd be invested in this guy. But the fact that he's only out there for 1 to 3 minutes, it tunes me off and not make me want to watch him at all because we all know what the outcome is going to be.
Right.
So enough with Santino there. He doesn't deserve that much time on this show, but... Moving on here, Zack Ryder is back on Raw television as we saw him after Eve defeated Alicia Fox. And, basically, I forgot what he said, but, he said broskies before hoskies, and he was basically getting back at Eve, made her feel bad. And then Raw went to commercial. Then after that, we had Eve and Zack Ryder backstage, and Eve trying to tell Zack Ryder to calm down, and she wanted to talk to him, and she had something to say with him, and instead she just fucking kissed him, whored herself out to Zack Ryder, gave in that pussy to him, and then Eve just walked away, and Zack Ryder's like, oh, I'm horny, and yeah, so basically... As far as I'm concerned, this storyline is only to put over Eve. I don't see Zack Ryder getting any momentum from this storyline. The only thing that Zack Ryder's gonna get is that pussy. But besides that, he's not gonna get shit as far as momentum goes. Because let's be honest, what's Eve's heel gimmick about right now? Her being a whore, her telling the male fans and the males that they're weak, and she knows their weak parts and all of that, and that they can't stand not looking at her. They have to look at her, and basically she's just this seducing type character whore who uses people. So to me, this storyline is only to get Eve over more as a heel, since she just recently turned heel and she needs to get bigger. I mean, that's all I see it doing. I don't think this has anything to do with Zack Ryder getting over. If anything, it's going to make Zack Ryder look like the retard, because that's kind of what his gimmick is, being a tool. So I don't see how Zack Ryder's going to get anything from this besides that pussy, like I said. But good for you, Zack. You're going to get some every week.
Yeah, like this actually got scored a minor miss on my hits and misses review, because it was like a logic fuck in a way. You had Zack Ryder, who was calling Eve a hosky, and then all of a sudden Eve puts some moves on him, and all of a sudden he's sprung again. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, like, but, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that just didn't make that much sense to me, I mean, had that be John Cena would be like, get off me, whore. You get away from me. But Zack Ryder he's just like all in love with her again, So it just didn't make much sense to me to go in that direction. But, I guess you have to, do something to keep the gimmick somewhat interesting, But another thing I want to point out with Eve, it seems like they're building towards an Eve Kelly match for WrestleMania, and that's something I don't like at all, because it just seems like they don't give a damn about Beth Phoenix or the Divas Championship, about having a match with the title at WrestleMania. I mean, they could have had the match with her and Karma, but then again, Lucas brought to everyone's attention on SOAOutlaw TV that Karma had a miscarriage, so she might be out longer than expected, But then they could also do a match with Beth and Natty, but the thing is, Natty's stuck in this stupid fart gimmick. So, yeah. So I guess WWE's going in that direction with Eve and Kelly for WrestleMania, and that's just retarded to me, I mean,
well, hold
yeah.
on a sec.
Eve might be your most interesting heel diva in the company right now, but at the same time, you're shoving your women's championship to the side in favor of two women who aren't in the title picture.
Well, I mean, let me touch on Zack Ryder again. Yeah, he's just gonna look like a fucking tart for the next few weeks. But to touch on the Eve subject and at WrestleMania, I could see WWE doing something like that. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think they also might be going another direction. Maybe they're doing a mixed gender tag team match for WrestleMania like they did last year. Maybe it might be Zack Ryder and Kelly versus Eve and some mystery horror opponent, something like that. But if it's Eve versus Kelly, I can tell you right now, Beth Phoenix is going to look like shit unless they have two diva matches at WrestleMania, which I don't think they're going to do at all. But I really don't know what's in store for the divas right now, because it seems like the only one doing anything relevant is Eve, and she's not even the Divas Championship. She's not even the Divas Champion, and Beth Phoenix, it seems like they have no storyline for her, so it'd be kind of random at this point to just have her randomly face Eve, and besides, they're both heels, so it really wouldn't work. I mean, I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with the divas. They might do another tag team match involving the divas. Maybe it might be Beth and Eve versus Kelly and Natalya or something like that. just to have all the interesting divas involved in one match. I mean, that's all they could do at this point. They can't just have Beth Phoenix randomly face Eve or randomly face Kelly at the last minute. So, but the positive about this storyline is we might see both Zack Ryder and Eve at WrestleMania, and I will admit the storyline itself is pretty entertaining. Actually, I'm just disappointed that they dropped the ball on Kane and John Cena, because they really made this storyline worthy enough to be watchable, and I was really expecting them to continue with this storyline after WrestleMania, but it seems like John Cena and Kane, they've been thrown out of the picture for this, and it's just Eve and Zack Ryder now. But I hope it's not Eve versus Kelly. God, no. I hope it's Kelly and Zack Ryder versus Eve and someone else, because, I mean, that's probably the most interesting thing they could do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what you said. That'd be the only way that this would make the match tolerable, is if they added another heel superstar into the mix, the team with Eve against the babyface Ryder and Kelly. So, yeah,
right.
but just that match, that one-on-one match on paper, it does me no favors at all. It doesn't make me invest in the WrestleMania. It's not one of my reasons to buy WrestleMania. So there you go.
All right, moving on to the next part of the show. The tag team match between World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho, the number one contender for WWE Championship, CM Punk, against the WWE Champion CM Punk, and Sheamus, who is the number one contender for Daniel Bryan's World Heavyweight Championship at Mania. I thought this was a pretty good little WrestleMania preview right here, and I don't think WWE has done something like this in recent years in the road to WrestleMania, because for the last few years, it seems, all we've had is barely any contact between the top competitors for the WrestleMania matches, because they wanted to save all the hype for the event itself. They wanted no physical contact between opponents. The only physical contact you would see is if it were a brawl or, a backstage fight or something like that. But as far as matches or tag team matches go, they would never do something like that, because they didn't want to spoil any sort of action between the opponents at all. And I'm actually surprised they did that with Chris Jericho and CM Punk. I really thought they were going to save all the action for WrestleMania, but regardless, we got a pretty good matchup here between, both teams.
Oh, yeah, we totally did. It told a story. We had the element of CM Punk's storyline injury that Chris Jericho gave to him the week before, and Jericho got the one-up on Punk, and it just adds to Jericho's case of being the best in the world at everything he does. And I think, like you said, it was a good way of building both the WWE and World Heavyweight title programs. And I really think that both programs needed this kind of match for hyping for WrestleMania.
Yep. All right. We were going to talk about Kane returning and Orton returning, but I mean, fuck it. We'll just skip that. Go forward with The Rock and John Cena. Their epic war of words for in week 2 now, it seems. And week 2 was a lot different. Instead of The Rock coming out at first as usual, we had John Cena come out first, and he addressed The Rock, which was pretty unusual, because usually when The Rock is in town and he's scheduled to be on Raw, he usually gets the spotlight for himself and cuts a long ass promo. But Cena changed the pace here, and he came out and he reacted to The Rock's history lessons and was mocking The Rock for coming at him with jokes again, and basically doing his silly little stunts like he always does with the jokes and catchphrases and all of that, and how, John Cena said, The Rock could point out a million things about me that have nothing to do with our match at WrestleMania. Hell, I'm wearing knee pads right now. That equals 100 jokes right there. But you know what? This isn't about jokes or something amongst that line. And then he's like, The Rock is talking about how many women he's had sex with and shit like that, and then he's like, "Am I fighting? Wait a minute, am I fighting Mike? Am I fighting Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore?" And that was a good ooh moment, you know. I thought that was a pretty good comeback for John Cena there to make The Rock look, you know, kind of shitty. I mean, that had me. That was a funny line, and then he referred to The Rock as the ring man and shit. I mean, John Cena. When he wants to deliver, he can deliver. I mean, he just fucking, oh my God, that was just epic. Those two lines right there about The Rock. I mean, the thing about John Cena is he keeps it simple. You know, he keeps it sweet and simple, and that's the difference between The Rock and John Cena. They both have very complete different styles as far as their mic work goes. You know, John Cena is a guy who doesn't like to talk much, and when he does talk, he makes his statements pretty simple and sweet. You know, he basically just fucking gets the point across, and then that's it. However, John Cena still has not addressed The Rock as far as personally wise goes. He didn't respond to what The Rock said the week prior to that, and that was the fact that The Rock can entertain people. That was the fact that The Rock wants to end John Cena being shoved down our throats for years. You know, John Cena never addressed any of that. At least The Rock addressed, you know, John Cena's comments and him leaving and never showing up and being a sellout and shit like that. But John Cena did not respond to The Rock when The Rock said that John Cena has been shoved down our throats for way too long with his, you know, boring self and the fact that he can't entertain as good as The Rock can. And I thought that was pretty fishy and shady of WWE to do something like that, because they're kind of making John Cena ignore that and throw the fans off and make us think that The Rock never said those words, which he did. So they're kind of avoiding that and basically making John Cena look good by getting over the fact that The Rock said the things he said. But, you know, then The Rock comes out and he's like, at your core, John Cena, at your core, you will be the little boy who will go down in history as The Rock's bitch. And, you know, before The Rock even said that, and before he even tried to make his statement, there were some chants during the confrontation. You know, there were the Tooth Fairy chants, there were the Fruity Pebble chants, and the Tooth Fairy chants were new. I mean, only Boston would do something like that because it was John Cena's hometown. So I could see why a few were against The Rock, but a pretty interesting promo nonetheless, you know?
Yes. To me, it seemed like, you know, Cena being out there was more like John Cena's homecoming. You know, Boston's his hometown, and you know, and he grew up there and stuff like that. And you know, he had his dad and wife there, and his brother and stuff like that, and several members of his family. So it seemed like more of a fucking homecoming for Cena. But as far as the statement itself, I liked when Rock, you know, said that he sees fear in John Cena's eyes, that he senses doubt in his words, and that come WrestleMania, you know, that he will fall to The Rock. And I think that's what The Rock needed to say, you know, to create, you know, some questions for the audience. You know, I mean, yeah, John Cena seems confident on the surface, but deep down, does he have those fears and insecurities about facing The Rock at WrestleMania?
Yeah, that was a pretty good line. I mean, how I should have pointed that out, but yeah, I just remember The Rock saying that, you know, he sees fears in John Cena's eyes, and that's an excellent point, because that brings me back to my point, John Cena avoiding The Rock's comeback to John Cena's comeback, or John Cena's original statements. You know, he avoided that. So I like the fact that The Rock did point out the fact that there may be fear in John Cena because of the fact that he's not as big as The Rock is or because of the fact that he's avoiding some of the things The Rock is saying and, shit like that, and the fact that he has fans against him. So, again, despite all the catchphrases and the jokes that people tend to say The Rock goes overboard with, he does tend to be personal and serious at the same time. I mean, I think the fact is The Rock says so many jokes that it gets overshadowed, his jokes overshadow his seriousness. But for me, I don't see how it overshadows it, because in order for you to not see The Rock being serious, that means you're completely avoiding him. That means you're not paying attention to the program or the promo or what he's saying. You have to be really invested into what The Rock is saying in order to understand where he's coming from, because I understand everything he says. I mean, yeah, he has his jokes, but if you really, really pay attention, he can be serious. He can get personal, and he was exactly that this past Monday on Raw. I mean, he cut one hell of a promo, and he's like, he's gonna rip John Cena's throat out or something. That was another good line right there. He's like, John, I'm gonna rip your throat out, and at your core, John, at your core, you will always go down in history as the little boy. John, you will always go down in history as The Rock's bitch. That was just fucking great. So, kudos to both John Cena and The Rock. I mean, even though their promo was a lot shorter and to prior ones, even though this segment wasn't that long, it was still pretty good, if you ask me. They both kept it sweet and simple, and sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is better, because now next week we're going to want more, and that's what they need to do every week, want us to get more, want us to know what's going to happen next, and I think that promo did that. And you're right about John Cena and this being a homecoming, because after The Rock left the ring, Cena's just there celebrating and posing at the camera with his family who were in the crowd and shit. So, but again, I still stand by my theory that WWE's main goal right now heading into WrestleMania is to make John Cena look good and put him over, so by the time Mania comes, it's 50-50. The fans are 50-50 split between both John Cena and The Rock. But in my opinion, no, the WWE can try and make Cena look good as much as they want. The fact is, he's not going to survive being booed from Miami come WrestleMania 28, April 1st. There's no way he's going to be fucking half booed and half cheered. That motherfucker's going to get booed, just like he did at One Night Stand, just like he did at WrestleMania 22, and just like he did at Money in the Bank. This fucker will get booed. He is not. I mean, I will. There are going to be some chance for him, but he's going to get booed more than he's going to get cheered. Trust me. So WWE can
tell you. I can tell you this right now. The moment his music hits, it will be the biggest boo reaction he's ever gotten in his career. He will literally be booed out of the building, especially if he wins. If he beats The Rock, oh my God, dude, it's going to be deafening. The amount of boos that Cena's going to get at WrestleMania if he beats The Rock.
And of course, we're going to see the famous sign: if Cena wins, we riot, like we saw in Money in the Bank and at One Night Stand. We're going to see the exact same sign. WWE's cameras are going to go right to that sign and see it. So WWE can try and make Cena look good as much as they want, but the fact is he's still going to get booed in Miami. So, I mean, I understand why they want John Cena to look good, as he's a poster boy and the face of the company and all that, and how The Rock probably agrees that this is what WWE should do and this is the right thing to do to make John Cena look good, because The Rock is that much of a professional and he understands the business. So he will do what WWE wants, and he will do what he thinks is right for business, and that's make John Cena look good. But my gripe is they shouldn't have to limit The Rock or limit John Cena. They should just go full out, see who's a better man. You don't need to make The Rock look like shit just to get John Cena over. You want this, you earn it. So if Cena wants to earn that respect from everybody, if he wants to look good, he can't have The Rock just fucking suck his dick to make him look good. No, The Rock needs to make himself look good as well. They both got to be in their A game. You don't just you don't just make one man look soft to make the other look better. No, that's not how you do business. In my opinion, they both gotta be on their game. That's how you make me win John Cena. That's how you make John Cena win over the fans, by having him go promo with The Rock, not just half-ass.
Right. And another thing I noticed, too, about this week is that Cena finally changed his tune, instead of calling The Rock a sellout and saying, he's never here and stuff like that. He decided to change his tune this week, and he said that, he wants The Rock, not Dwayne Johnson. He wants The Rock. And that this match right here will define his legacy, and he needs to win. It's a must-win situation for him. And if he doesn't win, then, that's going to, lose everything, for him. It will damage his credibility, everything he's worked hard for, and it will become an afterthought if Rock beats him at WrestleMania.
Right. I think this past week, WWE did their best job ever with The Rock and John Cena. I mean, for the entire year-long feud, I would have to say that on Monday night, this past Monday, that was their best work they've done all year between The Rock and John Cena, going from the history lessons to Cena's I Need to Win promo and to the segment itself at the end of the night. I think everything was done right. I think they delivered. And now I think they're going down the right direction with this feud. Now things are getting interesting, and I pointed this out even before the road to WrestleMania began. I was like, once it comes, John Cena and The Rock need to fucking deliver, and I think they're starting to do that, So kudos to WWE and John Cena and The Rock, because now they're really doing what we wanted to see. Now they're really doing what we were saying this entire time. And hell, next week, John Cena is gonna be a rapper or something, and The Rock is gonna sing. It's gonna be The Rock's concert versus John Cena freestyling. Now, I don't know how pointless that will come off, but hopefully after that, they do something serious, because as far as I'm concerned right now, that just seems like fucking pointless, unless, of course, in their raps or in their songs, they point out interesting things that make us want to go, ooh, he's right, ooh, he has a point there. But other than that, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, this week was definitely the best week WWE had with The Rock and John Cena, the best work all year.
I have to agree with that. I have to absolutely agree with that, man.
And go ahead.
I mean, like, the entire year-long, program they've had with building this up, they haven't really done that much of a good job in getting people interested. But I think, they really stepped up a notch this week. In terms of making it a buy for WrestleMania.
Right. So we can only expect things to get better. And that brings us to the news section of this show, which actually leads me to The Rock and John Cena once again, which is what we were talking about. News was reported today that The Rock and John Cena are expected to get physical in the March 26th. Well, let me check the date. The March 26th Raw Supershow. Here's what the report reads. With just 1.5 weeks to go until their epic encounter at WWE's biggest pay-per-view event of the year, things are heating up fast between The Rock and John Cena. Their interactions are intensifying, and the current plan is for Rock and Cena to finally get physical the March 26th Raw Super Show, the final show before WrestleMania 28. So that home show, let me tell you something, that go-home show for Raw is going to fucking be interesting. There's going to be a lot of shit going down that night, and this is one of them. John Cena and The Rock getting physical, this is perfect. Perfect, because now they're going to end the road to WrestleMania with a bang, and they're really going to have people buying that shit if The Rock and John Cena get fucking physical before WrestleMania, everyone is definitely going to be like, holy shit, I'm buying this shit now, you know? So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I could see it being a contract signing for that night, and then after that, you know, they have some sort of brawl or something, you know? But this news right here is pretty interesting.
Right, and I think that's what they need to do is to start getting physical here, you know, because I think people want to see The Rock put boots to asses to John Cena, and I think Cena's fans want to see Cena brawl with Rock, you know, so I think we need to see that type of physical altercation happen, whether that be a contract signing or whether that be their one last in-ring promo, and then The Rock is like, well, you know, Cena, you know, enough talking. It's time to fight. And then Rock just lays into Cena. But, yeah, I think we need that type of physical altercation before their match because, you know, it'll just, the intensity will just finally come to a head, and then they'll start putting blows to heads and boots to asses. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on that night. And you're right, the go-home show for WrestleMania, a lot's going to occur. You know, we're going to get the final builds to each match for the WrestleMania card, and it'll be definitely a must-see edition of Raw.
Yep. And with that, let's start chanting boots to asses. Boots to asses! Boots to asses! Well, yeah, I mean, boots to asses, everyone, trending worldwide. All day, every day, 24/7, as The Rock shirt says.
And when their match comes up, you know, when The Rock and John Cena's match finally comes up for WrestleMania, I expect that the worldwide trends on Twitter at that time will be WrestleMania, The Rock, John Cena, top three.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more trending that night for WrestleMania. I mean, Twitter is going to be raped by WWE that night. You're going to have WrestleMania. You're going to have WrestleMania trending. You're going to have The Rock trending. You're going to have boots to asses trending. You're going to have Cena trending, Punk and Jericho trending, Best in the World trending. You're going to have a whole bunch of different trending topics. So I'm sorry, Twitter, but that night, WrestleMania, Twitter belongs to us. And Twitter, you will be fucked in the ass, and you're going to like it.
Yep, we're going to go ham that night for the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania. And on that note,
we're going to hashtag everything.
Yes. And like I said, on that note, me and Lucas are going to conclude the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please join WrestlingVengeance.com. And we got a lot of great discussions going on, including the road to WrestleMania. Go on there, discuss your favorite matches for WrestleMania, your predictions. And, Lucas, we have a magazine coming out at the end of the month. It's a WrestleMania edition of the magazine where you'll be seeing myself. You know, I'm going to talk about the streak, but talk about whether the streak should end or not. And Lucas will be touching on some things as well as some of the other members on the forum. So that's the thing to look out for. And also follow us on Twitter, which is at twitter.com/W_vengeance_.
And also, join the conversation. We're currently looking for shows to build onto our WVLowdown YouTube channel. So check out the announcement thread in the announcement section about the upcoming shows or future show ideas we have in mind, you know. So check all that good shit out there.
That's right. And we're going to end this here. And remember, go check all that out. And take care. Deuces.